Hi, Mr. X with glossary term segment of a line. Most of us know what a line segment is. It's a section of a line. It's a straight set of points lined up in a line. I want to take a minute to talk about the points we always see in these textbooks at the end of a line. We always see this, don't we? Line segment AB. And we see these little points at the end, and they're drawn a little bigger. And so some students say, okay, well, there really aren't any points in between A and B. This is a point, and this is a point, and so in between here, no points. Here's the problem with this graphic. This point right here is no bigger than that point or that point. There's nothing but points here. So while it is convenient sometimes to have these points labeled, and sometimes in geometry class it pays to have these points enlarged so we can talk about them, admittedly. But what actually is there? It's not a bigger point. The points are just a point at the end of the line, or the line segment. This would be a better representation of what's actually there in the language of mathematics. There's an endpoint here, A. There's an end point. Remember, these points have no size. They're a mathematical idea. And there's an end point here, B. In fact, between A and B are a collection of points, infinitely small. This line has no width. We might ask the question, what is the width of line segment AB? How wide is this line? It's infinitely thin. We might imagine that we've zeroed in on that line very, very tightly. But that line has no width, so even when we zero in on it, it would actually be that very thin line. Now let's zoom in on just that little part of the line. We're going to zoom in now. And we might imagine that this is a very, very close look at that line. But it's not that wide. It's only this wide. It's only as wide as we have to make it so we can see it, because a collection of points lined up in a line, they still have no width. This line has no width at all. It's only 1 point wide. So I kind of think of it like this. No matter how tight we zoom in, we could pick any interval here and zoom in on it, tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and when we zoom in, it's still infinitely thin. So no matter what shape our points, when we zero in on it, a point within the point, we get an infinitely thin line. That's a lot more about line segments than you were expecting, wasn't it? Enjoy hundreds of lessons in the language of math at MrXMath.com.